Hello guys, welcome to today's video. So today in this video we'll be discussing some of the major components of a plane or the parts of a plane aircraft. Some of the important components of the aircraft are the fuselage, the empennage, the landing gear, the cockpit, the wings. So these are some of the important components of the aircraft. So we'll be discussing the functionality of each one of them in detail. Okay. So as I have said, the major components of an aeroplane are the fuselage, the wings, the empennage, the engines, and the landing gear. So starting with the fuselage. So from the diagram, we know that fuselage is nothing but the main body of the aircraft. So what this main body consists of is nothing but the cockpit. Cockpit is where the pilot will sit inside. So this is basically the cockpit. Okay. Next is the passenger. So this is the passenger sitting area. And also these are the cargo components. I mean, some of the luggages of the passengers will be kept inside the aircraft, so that is nothing but the cargo compartments, you can say. So the fuselage consists of these three parts: cockpit, the passengers, and the cargo compartments. So in general you can say this is the main body of an aircraft. Okay. So what is the cockpit? So cockpit is basically, it is sometimes also referred to as the flight deck. Okay. And it is where the pilot will sit, means the pilot and co-pilot. Normally in an aircraft two pilots will be there, one is the main pilot and other is the co-pilot. So they both will be sitting, and that place where they sit is known as the cockpit. Next, as we have told, passenger is where the passengers will be sitting in the aircraft. And next is the cargo component, where the luggage or the cargo will be kept. So this is nothing but the fuselage of the aircraft. Next important component is the wing area. So as from the diagram we can see this entire thing is the wing. Okay. So the wing has one important component, another component is a winglet, and they have some leading edges. So what functionality the wing provide is, the wing provides the majority of the lift of an aeroplane requires for the lift. We know from our previous classes that lift is nothing but the force which is acting upwards on the aircraft. Okay, it is because of due to this lift only the aircraft will fly in air. So from the diagram also we can see these wings, no, sometimes here the fuel will be kept inside these wings. So wings are also acting as a storage for the fuel. So wings often has the integral fuel tanks which are used to power the engines. So major functionality of wing is to provide the lift to an aeroplane and also act as an integral fuel tank. So these two are the major functionalities of the wing. If you see, there is another component which is a part of wing, which is at the end you can see this small triangle shape which is known as a winglet. Okay. So the important functionality of winglet is to reduce the drag on the aircraft. So additional component called a winglet is located at the end of each wing. So on the either side of the aircraft these winglets are there. Their purpose is to reduce the drag. We know that the drag is nothing but the opposite force or the air resistance. So let's say aircraft is moving forward, I mean in this direction forward, then drag will be on the backward opposite direction. So this winglet will also help to reduce the drag. The lesser the drag, the faster the aircraft will move. Okay. So that is the important functionality of winglet. Next, moving to other components like aileron. So aileron is also located, it is somewhat nearer to the wing only. So this in the diagram we can see the aileron is marked. So what this aileron does is, so aileron is, as from the diagram we can say, it is on the rear component of the wing and it is there on the either side of each wing. Okay, so on either side of the aircraft we have this. So since the aileron are there on either side, so what happens is they work in opposite direction to each other, like one is upwards then the other is downwards, or when the other is upwards then the other is downwards, so they work in opposite direction, these two together. Okay, so when one is raised the other is lowered. What it does is, no, aileron, the main functionality is to increase the lift on one wing while reducing the lift on the other. So depending on which wing is, I mean which aileron is lifted, means increased, then it will provide the lift, and the one in which the aileron is on the other side, it will reduce the lift. So the major functionality is to provide the lift. Okay, so this will help the aircraft to roll on the aircraft sideways, causing the aircraft to turn. So because of this lift, one increasing lift on the other side and on downside, it will help the aircraft to turn. So one major functionality of aileron is to provide the aircraft to turn. So these you have to remember. Next is, so this is the wing area we have discussed. So next is our empennage. So these three, that is the vertical stabilizer, horizontal stabilizer, and the, so this entire tail of this aircraft is nothing but the empennage. So the entire tail area of the aeroplane is nothing but the empennage. So what it consists of? It consists of the horizontal and vertical stabilizers, which are primarily are nothing but the elevators and rudders. So we'll be discussing about them one by one. If you see from the diagram, this horizontal stabilizer or this elevator is there here. Okay, whereas this is a vertical stabilizer, and the rudder is attached to this vertical stabilizer. So what does the horizontal stabilizer will do? The horizontal stabilizer is designed to provide a downward force push on the tail. So it helps to keep the airplane's nose from moving up and down, and the hinged part of the horizontal stabilizer is the elevator. So what it does, because of the weight of the aircraft is acting always downwards, so this horizontal stabilizer will help to keep the aircraft balance. So we'll see how this, with the help of elevator, how it does. Okay, so elevator will help to elevate the aircraft. It is located on the tail of the aircraft. It directs the nose of the aircraft either upwards or downwards. So with the help of elevators, the nose, which is the front part of the aircraft, it can be either increased or decreased. So because of this, the aircraft movement can happen. So the aeroplane can climb and descend. So with the help of elevators only, we are able to achieve this aeroplane climbing and descending. The control is provided by this elevator, and this elevator is a part of the horizontal stabilizer. If you see from the diagram, so this is the horizontal stabilizer. Okay, and then this elevator is attached to it. So this elevator, with the help of this elevator only, we are able to make sure that the aircraft nose is either climbing or descending. So that is the functionality of the horizontal stabilizer. Next is the vertical stabilizer. So vertical stabilizer, the primary function is it designed to stabilize the left and right motion of the aircraft. Okay, and also it helps to prevent the side to side motion of the aircraft's nose, which is nothing but the yaw. The side to side motion is known as a yaw, whereas the upwards and downwards motion is known as the pitch. Okay, so the vertical stabilizer, the important component is the rudder. As we can see in this diagram, this vertical stabilizer, this rudder is attached to it. Okay, so with the help of rudder, the vertical stabilization is achieved. So what this rudder does is, so rudder is attached to the vertical stabilizer, which is located on the tail of the aircraft. It helps to steer the nose of the aircraft left or right. Okay, so this rudder which is there on the tail, With the help of this can be moved right or left. With the help of that, the aircraft direction, either it can move right or left. So this turn, the moving of right and left of the aircraft is achieved with the help of this radar. So that is the major functionality of the radar that you have to remember. The other important component of an aircraft is the engine. You know, so what is the main function of the engine is it takes the air that is there in the front of the aircraft, and then it will accelerate the air and pushing it out behind the aircraft. So with this it is able to achieve the thrust that is needed for the plane to fly. Okay, so that is what the engine works. It major function is to provide the thrust to the aircraft so that the aircraft can move and it can fly. How it does is it sucks the air which is there in the front of the engine. If you see from the diagram, so this is the engine. Okay, this entire thing is the engine. So the air which is there in the front of this engine, it will suck the air and then it will accelerate the air and it will push on the backside. Because of this reaction, because of this action, the aircraft will move in the opposite direction. So that is what the basic function of the engine is, to help to create the thrust. So depending on the aircraft type, engine type will also vary. So we'll discuss only two types. One is jet powered aircraft, other is a propeller powered. So in the jet powered engines, in this the air is compressed using the turbines. As we have said that the air in the front of this aircraft is sucked and is pushed out. So when the air is compressed inside it using the turbines, then those are the jet powered engines. Okay. Whereas if they are, instead of using the turbines, if they are using a propeller, then those engines are the propeller powered aircrafts or propeller powered engines. So this propeller mechanism is a huge chapter we can discuss sometime later. But then basic functionality you can remember what the engine does is providing the thrust. And then depending on the type of the engine and the type of mechanism used, it provides the thrust. So the another important component of the aircraft is the landing gear. So landing gear is under the belly of the plane. So if you go to the diagram, so normally here the one tire will be there. Okay, you might have seen. So this tire will act as a this entire component which is there attached to the bottom of this aircraft is the landing gear. So what it does is it helps the aircraft to land safely. So what does the landing gear consist of? It consists of wheels with the tires attached to struts. So this is the body of the aircraft, and then here one small tire will be there, and then this attachment is nothing but the strut. Okay, so this is the landing tire or landing wheel. So this entire component is the landing gear. So because what the strut does is it helps to soften impact with the ground. So in this video we have discussed some of the important and the major components of the aircraft, that is from the starting with the fuselage, then we have discussed the wings, then we have discussed the tail of the plane and the landing gear of the plane and also the wings. So these are some of the important components. Some other parts like spoilers, flaps and some other parts are left out, we'll discuss in some another video. Okay, so if you have liked the video and if at all you have any doubts on this topic, you can comment below. I'll be happy to share my knowledge on this. And if you have liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos. And thank you for watching.